Roberto Flores Torres de San Miguel, Sofia Estefania Cavazos Arispe, and Enrique awoke to the smell of chorizo cooking. They jumped out of bed and ran downstairs to eat their delicious Mexican meal. As they ate, they talked of the adventures that awaited them as soon as they were to step out the door. When they finished their breakfast, they piled into a red Suburban and headed to the space station. They watched the houses, trees, and streets fly by outside their window, waving goodbye to the people they passed. When they arrived at the space station, time flew by. Everyone seemed to be rushing, putting special suits on, taking pictures, saying speeches and goodbyes. Before they knew it, Roberto, Sofia, and Enrique were strapped into the rocket, awaiting takeoff.
You ready?
Enrique asked, flipping switches here and there.
Ready as I'll ever be!
Roberto replied. 10, 9, 8, 7. Sofia began to count. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Up went the rocket, high into the sky and into space. They flew and flew and flew until Earth was nothing more than a small dot off in the distance. They passed by asteroids and meteors, watching them pass by in awe. Every day was an adventure, wondering what they would pass by next, despite the long wait until they would arrive to their destination. Sofia, Roberto, and Enrique's favorite thing to do was imagine what it would be like when they got there.
Will there be aliens?
Enrique wondered.
Will we find the remains of an ancient civilization that was turned to ruins after a downfall of their empire followed by a humongous meteor shower that killed off any form of life?
Roberto pondered. Will I be able to use special rocks to exfoliate my skin? Sofia contemplated. After a long wait of 5 months, all their questions were answered. The rocket landed in a dome made 2 years prior to the exploration for the explorers to live in. It contained everything that they would need to live: a house, plants, and animals for food and oxygen, a well for water, and wind turbines for energy.
Well, mis amigos, we are here!
Roberto said when they stepped off the rocket.
We're on Mars.
Enrique finished. After taking a tour around the dome that they would call home for the next 2 years, they made their way towards the house. Enrique ran ahead while Sofia and Roberto slowly made their way there. Just as Sofia and Roberto were about to open the door, Enrique's head popped out with a huge grin on his face.
Guess what day it is?
He smiled.
What?
Asked Roberto and Sofia.
Taco Tuesday.
You know what that means, Sofia exclaimed.
What?
Roberto and Enrique asked. Tacos de pollo! Sofia ran towards the barn where the animals were to prepare meat for dinner. That night, they all feasted on chicken tacos with pico de gallo and horchata. They danced around and sang music merrily, happy to have made it to Mars and happy to have a party. The next few days flew by. Every day there was something to do. They spent their days exploring outside the dome. They collected samples of dirt and rocks, searched for ruins and foreign life, and made comparisons of Earth from Mars. At night, they feasted on burritos, enchiladas, and carne asada. One day a week, though, they couldn't work.
Everyone, guess what day it is?
Enrique called out.
Taco Tuesday.
They all chanted.
What's for dinner?
Roberto and Enrique asked. Tacos de vaca! Sofia exclaimed, throwing her hands up in the air and running to the barns where the animals were to prepare the meat for dinner. That night, they all feasted on beef tacos with salsa and horchata. They danced around and sang music merrily, happy to be on Mars and happy to have a party. They kept up that lifestyle for the next 5 months. Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, they feasted on burritos, enchiladas, and carne asada. On Tuesdays, they celebrated their stay on Mars by feasting on tacos with salsa or pico de gallo and horchata. They danced around and sang music merrily, happy to be on Mars and happy to have a party. One day, though, everything changed. Sofia was busy collecting what seemed to be ancient rock samples when she tripped on a huge rock. She looked down to see a face staring back up at her. Roberto! Enrique! She screamed. She began to run blindly, not knowing where she was going until she tripped over her own foot. She began to crawl backwards until she hit a hard surface. Breathing hard, she slowly looked up and screamed again at what she saw. A big green face was looking down at her. She quickly got up and stood motionless, staring at her new acquaintance. At that moment, Roberto and Enrique rushed to her rescue, only to stop in mid-stride, astonished at the human-like figure that stood before them.
It's an alien,
Roberto whispered.
Well, duh.
Enrique said loudly. Roberto elbowed Enrique, a sign to be quiet. The four stood motionless, staring at each other in shock until Enrique broke the silence.
You wanna come over for dinner?
He asked. The alien enthusiastically nodded, walked over to Enrique, and shook his hand in a firm, quick, and playful manner. Roberto, Enrique, Sofia, and their new alien friend made their way back to the house. When they got there, Enrique turned around and said,
Hey guys, guess what day it is?
Silence followed. Roberto and Sofia were too scared by the alien to say a word.
It's Taco Tuesday!
Enrique exclaimed. The alien began jumping up and down excitedly and clapping its hands.
Yay!
Sofia and Roberto awkwardly joined in.
What's for dinner, Sofia?
Enrique asked. Sofia thought. Tacos de chivo! The alien began to jump and clap once again as Sofia ran to the barn where the aliens were to prepare the meat for dinner. That night, the four roasted on goat tacos with pico de gallo and horchata. They danced around and sang music merrily, happy to be on Mars, happy to have a party, and happy to have a new friend. From that day on, every Tuesday the alien came back again and again, each time with a new friend, until they feasted with 20 aliens. Every Tuesday, they feasted on tacos with salsa, pico de gallo, and horchata, and they danced around and sang music merrily, happy to be on Mars, happy to have a party, and happy to have new friends. Things were going really well until one Monday night when Sofia faced Roberto and Enrique looking troubled.
What's wrong?
Asked Roberto. We only have enough tortillas to last one more day, Sofia sniffled. Roberto and Enrique gasped.
It's okay. We can live without tacos.
Roberto comforted.
What is life?
Enrique exclaimed, throwing his hands in the air. No, Roberto. We have to go home. The next day, as usual, the aliens came over. Enrique peeked his head through the door and exclaimed,
Everyone, guess what day it is?
Taco
Tuesday!
They replied.
What's for dinner, Sofia?
Tacos de pollo, vaca, and chivo. She ran to the barn where the animals were to prepare the meat for dinner. That night, they feasted on chicken, beef, and goat tacos with salsa and horchata. They danced around and sang music merrily, happy to be on Mars, happy to have a party, and thankful for their friends. The next day, Roberto, Sofia, and Enrique said their goodbyes to the aliens, sad to leave their new lives and friends behind. We'll be back, Sofia whispered to them before getting into the rocket. The aliens waved as they began to fly away. Roberto, Enrique, and Sofia waved back until a mighty gust of wind blew sand all over the surface of the planet, shielding the aliens from sight. Turning around, the three explorers directed the rocket towards Earth and began their long journey home.